Hi everybody, welcome to Spirit Science. I'm Diane Lancier of soulrestoration.ca.
And Heather Garrett from Planet Botanics, planetbotanics.com. And today our special guest is Amy Mungham. She's a registered holistic nutritionist and a bit of a magician.
Fair enough, I'll take it.
Where are wands?
Yeah,
That's true.
we didn't come prepared. So I know Amy because I get this amazing juice from her. For every day of the week, I drink a liter of it. And I just had my live blood done last month. And my blood is perfect, and I think it's because of the juice.
Very likely.
So tell us a little bit about you, including how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, so I'm a holistic nutritionist. I teach nutrition at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, and I operate a commercial and home-based food production brand. And what that entails mainly is meals for people, raw juice, smoothies,
Delicious meals.
Yay!
Yes.
So we focus just on being nourishing, being joyful. So basically in my practice, I don't promote meal prep in the westernized sense. So basically from the nutrition standpoint, meal prep takes food culture and joy and creativity out of food. It takes intention out of food. It takes the whole rhythm and rhythmic process out of that aspect of your lifestyle. So if you're adding food in, it should still contain that nourishing joy, and if you don't have time to make it, getting it from a provider that's able to put that joy and that nourishment into that food and not making it just a plain Tupperware meal. It's a full meal that you would have made at home with that same love.
I love that.
I completely agree because I get flack sometimes for buying my lunch, you know, and because I have my muggle job, but buying my lunch because I just don't have, you know, I have capacities with certain things and food prep and all of that. It's just not one of the things that I love doing. I would rather, you know.
Well, let's face it. We are a society that likes convenience. Why do I like the juices? Because I can't eat a salad in the store. But
Right.
a juice I can sip on all day.
Yeah.
And I'm getting all these amazing
And isn't
vitamins
it
and
funner and
nutrients.
easier to get it from somebody who loves
Totally.
doing it than doing it yourself?
Yeah.
Totally.
You know, and you're not getting all of the waste. Like I've juiced
That's true.
over many years,
Yeah.
and you end up wasting stuff. And then you're like, oh, I want this for this recipe, but I can't find that fruit. And you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just I love it.
I
I've
also
had
love
her
the
butter,
love and joy
I've had her
part.
butter chick. Was it
Butter
chicken?
chickpeas.
Butter chickpea, because one of the things I love is butter chicken, but I'm a vegetarian.
Okay.
So the butter chickpea, I can't now because of how I'm eating, but
Yes.
oh, so
Good.
so good to have that. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. So.
But I do love, I really, really think it's important, the love and joy aspect
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a holistic thing because if you look at the whole production of our food and everything, which I don't want to get into, it's not very happy, unloving, and joyful.
It's not at all, especially commercial food production. And then the one element in the general fit industry and nutrition industry is the concept that food is fuel. And we know that food is so much more than fuel, right? Food is communication. Food is a way for something that's not part of our physical body to communicate with us on a cellular level, right? When we bring it back to water memory. So we need to make sure that we're not looking at food as fuel. We're looking at food as a social part of our life, as joyful, as creative, as loving, as nourishing. It's way more than fuel. It's a whole concept of information that our body is absorbing.
But one, I would say I agree with you. But I think when you say that, what comes to me is that some people, again, there's extremes in
Yes.
everything, right? So the extreme of the only joy in your life coming from food
No, I
is
totally
not,
agree. Yes, it's also
so you
not
should be eating joyfully and you should be eating the things that bring you joy, but that should not be the
the
center.
only place.
Yeah,
Because that's when you develop an addiction or dependency on something, and then you can very quickly develop an addiction to food. Even if it's not, in the sense, a negative addiction that people will see, you can also develop things like orthorexia, which is something that I talk about openly. So orthorexia is an eating disorder that's based on obsessive healthy eating. So that can be extremely restricting and just as unhealthy as anorexia and bulimia as well.
Yeah.
But it's not really talked about.
It's
So
not talked
maybe
about.
it's a newer thing.
It's a newer thing, so right now it's a non-clinical diagnostic term, so you can still be diagnosed with it, but on your file it'll still say anorexic or some other version of eating disorder because it's non-clinical at this time. but it's not talked about too often. It's widely experienced. It does get a lot of flack when you talk about it because a lot of holistic practitioners want you to be, they want all your food to be whole and clean and organic, and they might be able to do that with a clean mindset, with no obsession. But not everyone can. Some people bring obsession to the table. Some people bring extra. They
Literally.
need to be extra. Yeah.
Well, when Diane and I were doing our Access Consciousness bar training, they were saying you should have sugar afterwards, like you might have a crash, and or a Coke, and that stimulated a conversation about how the Coke might not be bad for you unless you believe it to be bad.
There's a very two-sided thing
And
there.
also, and I said to Heather, I don't think your body, because it's about talking to your body, right? And eating what your body wants when it wants, as opposed to what you've decided.
Yeah.
And because I've been reading a lot more. Actually, I wanna tell you about a book later after we're done.
Okay.
But what I said to Heather was, your body is probably not going to choose to have a Coke every day.
Yeah.
So if your body says, hey, I want a Coke, and your body probably wouldn't even want the whole can. It probably just might want like half or a couple of sips. But if you have judgment around that, then that's the issue. It's what I mean?
I always say that shame is unhealthier than a Big Mac.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
And the way that our body also digests food is linked with how we tell our body how it's going to digest food. So if we are drinking a Coke and said, I'm going to crash, I'm going to be bloated, I'm going to be super tired, you're going to crash and be bloated and be super tired. You just set that intention with this food. Right? Our bodies are so much more resilient. We don't have to be scared of food ever. There's no such thing as an unhealthy food. There's also no such thing as a healthy food. There's nourishing foods, and some foods are a little bit less nourishing, but you can't sustain yourself completely off of an apple. So that's the concept that there's no food that is healthy. There's no food that is unhealthy. There's not necessarily bad or good. It's just some foods are more nourishing, and if you follow your intuition and listen to your body, you'll naturally feed yourself with nourishing foods.
I so agree with you. And there's a lady who I recently discovered, and I don't know what her name is, but I know that within the world of Access Consciousness, and I talk about Access a lot because I'm totally into it now, but there's a lady who does, her whole thing is about releasing judgment around food and body. Because that's like similar to what you said about shame is the worst, and I see that in my own practice. Shame is just, it's debilitating. And it's worse than fear. It's just awful.
Yeah. And there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it.
We've been taught to be ashamed of
it's
a
very
lot of
because
things.
when I work with somebody and release their shame, and sometimes I pick up on their shame and they're not, and then we release the shame, boom, then you're like, oh, it gives you so much more freedom, right?
I know.
But anyway, so this lady works on body and food in terms of judgment, and it's all about releasing judgment. And then again, once you're releasing judgment and shame, you can talk to your body because you're not afraid of what your body's going to say to you. Because your body's not going to be like, you've mistreated me for 25 years and I haven't want nothing to do with you. Your body's going to be like, oh, sweet. Okay, well, let's eat this now.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all us that's projecting this stuff on. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So tell us a bit about your journey. How did you end up with
doing
food love?
Food, I feel like I went vegan at a very young age. So when me and my best friend, we were about 12 or 13 when we were vegetarian. She ended up in the hospital for over 6 months, undiagnosed. It was really scary. So we went the holistic route together and got all the books from the library together and just started reading about the holistic lifestyle, and she implemented that to heal as well. And then it kind of took a bit of an off track for me. The way that I learn is very much, I kind of see the two extremes and I find my middle way. So I started being very healthy and making all my own meals at that age. And then I got into a really mentally unwell space, so very mentally unhealthy, so addiction, eating disorders, just sitting in diagnoses instead of using diagnoses to just release, right?
Right.
If someone tells you, for example, being diagnosed with like a panic disorder, I wake up every day and tell myself, I have a panic disorder.
Right.
I'm going to have a panic attack. And then I had a panic attack every day, right?
Yeah.
So sitting within that and allowing my ego to take up space there. And then once I hit bottom, so for me, bottom was dying and being 90 pounds and having to choose between what I wanted to do and what I wanted to try. And I said, I'm going to just try. to live one more time. And the universe just gave me synchronicity. I nannied for a family, and there was a holistic nutritionist there, and
because you chose it.
Yeah, it was
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was able to just refine that path with support, with unconditional support, with love, with compassion. It's almost like the harm reduction method, where you give an addict or anyone struggling, it could just be mental health issues, an environment where they feel compassion and love and safe, and they don't have to run away from, and all of a sudden they're able to heal. So that's kind of what happened with me, and then it just progressed, and I started studying at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition immediately after that. And as my healing journey became more spiritual, and I allowed spirituality in order to heal, that's when I started implementing emotional health and spirituality into nutrition and how I view my body, and not just healing in the sense of doing the next right thing, but still identifying with diagnoses, but healing in the sense of no longer saying I am something, right? So I don't wake up every day and say I am an addict or I have depression. It's just I am a human being.
Yeah.
I'm a recovering human being, and I have all the tools I need in order to get through this day with grace.
Who can I be today?
I think that's a really excellent point, because there is a point that a lot of people reach where they become their disease. And
Yes.
Yeah.
It shapes everything about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who they are, actually, in
Mm-hmm.
fact.
I've recently spoken to somebody who said she has depression and anxiety, and so my question is always, so how do you know that? How do you know that you're depressed? And I'm not saying you're not, you're not, but how do you know that you're depressed? How do you know that you have anxiety, right? Is it, so if it's because somebody diagnosed you with it 15 years ago, like, is it, then you start owning, oh, I am a depressed person. Well, if you're
and
going to
maybe
wear
you're
those
watching for the
glasses,
signs too, like,
Yeah.
oh, so I'm feeling a little tense, so I wonder if I'm going to get a headache.
yeah, so then I don't feel good, so I'm depressed. You know what? You're human. You're going to have off days, right? Like, and if you go right to that diagnosis to those are the glasses you're wearing, right?
Yeah.
So
I do appreciate some of the Western medicine world in the sense that when someone is because in reality, depression kills, just like cancer kills, right?
Yeah.
Suicide doesn't kill, depression kills. But when we take a step back and we look at the Western medicine is beneficial for people in crisis.
yes,
If you're in a crisis, if you're at a bottom, then definitely a diagnosis, even if you take medication, anything that you need is always valid. But then once you're out of the crisis zone and your head's a little bit above water, you're walking a bit forward, then you can start to truly see above everything, right? And see the patterns, the cycles, what's been cycling through this life, what traumatized you initially that led you to that, right?
Well, I think what happens too is it's a product of, that is the mainstream, right? So I agree with you. I don't see, there's nothing wrong with it either, but I think what happens is in times of crisis, that's where people will go.
Yeah.
They're not going to go unless somebody knows. Like, if I had a crisis, I wouldn't go to that. I would go, I still go to doctors and stuff, but for a mental health thing, I would go to somebody who practices like I do, but that's because that's the world I live in. But for most people, when they're in crisis, they will go to those mainstream things, and so thankfully they're there, right?
They're there, and hopefully then we are just more present, and we start educating more so that people who are ready and aren't in a crisis have the ability to access resources outside of the Western bubble.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking about when I had this big cough.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to go on antibiotics. I just didn't want it. But I was really coughing a lot. And I was taking, remember?
I know, you take so much.
Look, Amy, I've got this turmeric tincture. It's
in
really
my
disgusting.
head, I'm like, you can just take, it's okay, you're enough if you take antibiotics too. It's probably less strain on the world with all these remedies.
And you were making me orange juice with turmeric in it, with I don't know how many cc's and vitamin C, and it was crazy. But I think it can be a choice too, right? Like, I knew there were other things I could do, and I was willing to go the antibiotics. I was like, if at the end of this week I'm not better, then that's it. I surrender.
Because again, like what Amy was saying, similar to that, if it's, there's a balance in everything, and if you have a judgment about antibiotics, then you're sort of projecting that onto the antibiotics at the same time, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't even really about antibiotics. At the same time as it was happening, I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's probably why you got sick in the first place, right?
And then and I actually took some time off work, which I never do, and then I was just like, Okay.
Yeah.
I'm all okay
Yeah.
with that.
Okay, buddy, I get it. We can heal now. I took my break.
Yeah. No, it's probably happening a lot in your fourth as well, so you need to experience joy outside of your day-to-day joy.
And by fourth, she
Yes.
means fourth
Let's
chakra.
talk about that.
Sorry, fourth chakra.
First of all, nailed it. Second of all, let's talk about.
Well, actually, it's probably why your live blood cell analysis came back so clean when it comes to circulatory cardiovascular health. That's within our fourth chakra, and then all of Heather's juices are green. Green is very supportive of the fourth chakra, just in color. So the 7 chakra systems, which are just kind of like circular wheels of energy within the body. There's more than 88,000, but the 7 central ones. The fourth one is green. And so the green juice helps with the fourth chakra and in cleansing it. And so your live blood cell analysis is probably, and your circulatory health is probably so clean and so nourished because of that.
And how easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing with raw juice is you do want to make sure that you eat enough fat and fiber when you're not. You can't just drink. Like I'm not pro juice cleanses and juice fasts because I like fiber and fat, and I think humans need fiber and fat. So as long as
this is like my liquid as I'm going through the day,
Exactly.
and it's my liquid vitamins is the way I think about it.
It's definitely more. It's funner to drink than water most days too.
Yeah, it is. But now the one you make me, does it have spinach and kale?
Spinach, kale, apple, orange, lemon, ginger, celery, cucumber.
So I'm sure you would agree that it should be changed up every once in a while, right? Especially with raw kale and things like that because of potential thyroid.
So juice isn't too bad. So the issue with kale and all cruciferous and brassica vegetables is that they are goitrogens or goitrogenous. So the way the thyroid works is it's a gland in your fifth chakra in your throat, and it absorbs iodine in your system along with sodium in order to produce the thyroid hormones that you need to secrete within your body for your thyroid to function, your metabolism to work, to have enough energy, to have a libido, all those things. If you don't, if you are consuming goitrogenous foods, they actually inhibit your thyroid from absorbing iodine and sodium in order to produce those thyroid hormones. So you find goitrogens in cruciferous vegetables. So raw kale would have it, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, millet, and soy also have these properties. But if you cook kale enough, it releases the goitrogens, or if you juice it, they're not present because they're present within the oxalates, which are released. You can also see it in like maca. Maca root's a goitrogen, but it's so good. You know this. Holly Warner will always promote gelatinized maca, and that's because maca on its own is a goitrogen and inhibits iodine uptake in the thyroid. But gelatinized maca is heated to the point where that goitrogenous property is removed, so it's able to support our hormones without inhibiting an uptake of anything.
And I was thinking you add sea vegetables too, so that's...
I do. I'm obsessed with sea vegetables.
And proudly.
Yeah, I'm a huge dork about it, and my students know this. I will mention sea vegetables with every like case study we ever look at. Sea vegetables are extremely nutrient dense. They're the greenest vegetables that we can consume. They're so green that they generally look almost black. That just means they have an extremely high amount of chlorophyll, which is a phytonutrient found in sea vegetables. And basically most phytonutrients are beneficial because they are antioxidants, and chlorophyll is just the most powerful chelating antioxidant. So it removes heavy metals and free radicals from the body.
So you're talking about like spirulina and...
Spirulina, yes. Spirulina is technically a freshwater algae, so it's still super beneficial, but we need to also mix in like ocean sea vegetables.
I used to get little tabs of...
Chlorella?
Yes.
Those are also beneficial.
Okay.
So chlorella is not freshwater, so it is.
My son used, when he was smaller, he would just like eat them.
Yeah.
My dogs think they're a treat.
See, it's funny because Lennon's obsessed with sea vegetables as well.
Yeah.
So it's like a pull, like kids know.
My son doesn't anymore, but then again I haven't. But I used to put them out in a bowl for him, and he would eat them like candy. But I cannot.
Are too fishy.
The taste of the green stuff. So I would take the tabs like
water.
pills with water. I can't just chew them.
It.
Ugh, I can't. No, I can't.
Yeah, sea vegetables are. That's it. They're so potent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or just get some in your juice.
Yeah, get some
You
in
wouldn't
your
even
juice.
notice.
Yeah.
No, I don't juice as much anymore.
Oh yeah, because you are high fat.
I'm doing that now.
And which is totally.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. So I have 2 clients on high fat, low carb right now, and they get their sea vegetables. They'll either mix it with their chia seeds, or they will do like an avocado, coconut milk, strawberry, hemp, sea vegetable smoothie. You're like, nope, not gonna happen.
I'll take the tabs
You'll take
with
the
some
tabs,
water like
yeah.
a pill, but the minute there's that taste, I've tried spirulina.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot, anyway, we don't have to make it about this,
But I think that's,
do not like the taste
we
of
need
it.
to listen to our cravings and
Yeah.
what our body likes and dislikes because it tells you something.
That's
So
right.
for me,
Intuitively, we always know.
we always know.
Yeah.
Like if you're not a fan, if it doesn't evoke joy, there are so many
I don't
other
like
nutrients.
the smell and taste of anything that's like algae, like
Yeah.
like those dried algae things.
Yeah, seaweed
My
snacks.
son has even those. I'm like, oh, like even vegetarian like
Sushi.
sushi.
Yeah, sushi
Ugh,
rolls.
I can't do the wrap, the
Okay.
nori, anything that
That's
comes
fine,
from the
yeah.
water. Yeah, I just don't.
Then that's
get-
just
yeah.
what your body tells you, and you totally need
Yeah.
to listen to it. For me, it's fish and seafood. Like I love seaweed and algae, but I cannot to the point where when I eat fish, I will most likely throw it up. Like I can't.
Are you vegetarian?
No,
No, you're not. Okay.
I was a vegan, so I was vegan for 5 years. I was also a raw vegan.
I've been that too.
I don't recommend raw veganism.
It's hard.
It's just it just damaged my whole system.
Did it really?
I wasn't intuitive with it. I
Oh.
kept going when I really should have stopped.
I loved it, and my body just really excelled on raw vegan.
I think
but it's the hardest. It's one of the hardest. And I don't say diet in the sense of like restrictive. I mean, the diet also just means what you eat, right? So
yeah.
it was the most. I loved it. I loved how it made me feel, but it wasn't easy for me. Whereas the low fat, high carb, I find very
Or
easy.
high fat, low
yeah.
carb.
Low fat, high carb. The low
High fat,
carb, high
highest
fat, I
fat.
find
What's your
easy.
favorite food?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Is
So
it,
many
it's the
things.
greens. I think she's
I
saying
like-
it's
I like hemp,
the
sea
seaweed.
vegetables, sea vegetables, avocados. I also really like French fries, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But generally, I like seeds and nuts, high fat things, sea vegetables. But I will like if it's a more of a junk food, then like raw cakes, raw cheesecakes, French fries, bison burgers, like just
Raw cheesecake.
so with instead of cheesecake with a Z instead of an S in cheese. So
Oh, I get
with
okay. I'm trying
cashews
to-
instead
okay.
of normal cheese.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Just
enjoy
in like
those
my
too.
friends group, no
Yeah.
one has ever eaten cheesecake. For us, cheesecake is
Yeah.
just cashews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've used to make a cashew cheese as well.
Oh,
So
it's so
You
good.
never said how people can get in touch with you.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
I
you're totally
was
right.
going to ask you actually. So you said you teach,
Mhm.
but do you do one-on-ones? Do you
Yes.
do them remotely? Do you do?
Yeah. So I do one-on-ones. I do phone consults. I did one last night as well. But usually it's one-on-one in person because it just allows for more of a connection. So I work out of the Ottawa Lifestyle Center. I go to your home as well. And then you can find all the info on homemakershop.ca. So the Homemaker Shop will also have the products, so meals and juices and stuff, but has a services aspect as well. So nutritional consults, one-on-one, and a cleansing program too.
Her food is amazing.
It's just because it's made with love. Also, I will say, anything tastes better when you didn't make it. So I have the upper hand there.
Yeah.
But you eat your own food.
Yeah, it's true. I do.
Yeah.
It was so cute. My oldest son, so we've been getting the juices for a long time now, right?
Mhm.
And my youngest son's getting them when he remembers.
Yeah.
And then the oldest one works in a school, and he and the other education assistants decided they were going to do a juice cleanse for 4 days. So they ordered 18 juices.
It was a great for me. I was like, this is great.
You were so diplomatic. You
I'm
said,
gonna get Heather.
well,
right
you know, just let me know if you need any assistance or any information, because I was like, you're what? You've never done anything like this before. You have no idea. You're going to get headaches. You're going to be cranky. You've got to take care of these children. Are you sure this is what you want to do? Well, I'm already in, Mom. I'm already committed. He lasted half a day.
Oh, half a day.
It's fun. It's funny because our concept, this is what I bring it back to, is just my personal experience with detoxing was detoxing in a metal room off of narcotics. So it's very much, that's what detoxing is. And a lot of times we'll say it now, we're like, I'm on a detox. It's like, you're not really chained to a metal bed or shaking or vomiting everywhere or scratching people in a psychosis. You're not detoxing. You're just cleansing.
Right.
You're removing some heavy metals,
Yeah.
right? You're healing your intestinal tract. you're gaining clarity. It's not as much as a detox as it just is cleansing, and that's why we get a lot of when we say detox, a lot of people will say you don't need to detox. You have kidneys, you have a liver, you have a lymphatic system. Your body does it naturally. It's totally right. We don't necessarily need to detox. We just need to heal and repair and cleanse.
I think that's a much healthier way of framing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think too. Again, if you go back to talking to your body and communing with your body, and feeding your body, you know, the food and the beverages that it desires, that it wants when it wants it, and the amount that it wants, then you're not going to like the need to detox or I have to do this. Like I've gone to the low carb high fat because in communing with my body, that's what the body wants. But I still check every morning. Do you want this morning? Do you want to eat now? Are you hungry now? Do you want? And it's in line with that style. But if it ever decides that it wants to eat differently, I'll do that. I'll listen to it. So it's the same thing with
it's
like
a mindfulness
a
practice.
food, a juice cleanse or something. If you're doing it because you think you've decided that that's what you need to do, that's not.
So I call that version so basically instead of being a vegetarian, you're actually an intuitarian.
Oh,
which is what I love to call it. You're an intuitarian because you're allowing your body to guide you, and you can instill whatever ethics and morals you want to within that framework, but you're still intuitively following your body's needs, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's probably one of the most important mindfulness practices there is.
Yes. It's one of the most important things I learned through Access Consciousness, actually. There's a lot of things that they talk about that I was already doing, or there's different words or expressions, but the communing with the body for me was one of the really big ones.
We are so disconnected from our bodies and our minds. That's all we want to do at the end of the day is unplug, disconnect ourselves.
We're disconnected,
we're
but at the same time,
we're almost too connected because it's almost the issue of people thinking that they are their bodies.
That's exactly what
right?
I was going to say.
Or like they are their minds. It's recognizing and coming to realize that I'm not actually my body. I just live here, and I'm also not my thoughts or my feelings. They just pass me, right? And then so it's we're disconnected to who we really are, and then connected to this. We use our bodies for our egos to identify themselves with, right? And then we exist within that. And when we can remove ourselves from that and recognize that I'm not a body, I have a body. Yeah. I just happen to have a body, and I'm going to nourish it. So that's
and the body is its own entity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Do you talk to your 2-year-old like this?
3 now.
3. Happy birthday, Leonard.
Yeah, he's pretty well versed, to be honest with you, with
what
this
did
stuff.
He say?
Says so many things.
I know. We've had so many conversations.
I did with my son this morning because he wanted his big snow pants and it's really warm, right? And I'm like, but I think you should try these ones. They're like more of a spring pant. Yeah. He wore them Tuesday. He was cold, so you're going to be really hot, buddy, with your snow pants. So I'm like, why don't you ask your body which pants This is the first time I've done this with him. Yeah. And he was laughing. But he's like, no, my body wants those ones. I'm like, okay, but I want to start using that information because we already do healing and how powerful we are and we can heal our own stuff. And
do you let him wear the crown? Bet you don't.
I'll bring the crown someday. I'll wear it.
We should do that.
I will wear it.
I would have brought my fairy crown.
Let's
all the way
it's
down.
on. Let's do it next time.
Very lovely.
I have my sights on. Anyway, we should sign off now because
that was
time.
chock full of information, Amy. I hope
Okay.
people contact you and find out more about this because I think it's so very important for anybody, regardless of where you are in your journey.
Yeah, exactly. Using nutrition as a means towards healing. It just is one way to meet
food
healing.
is medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't say it, but
we mean it. The intention is there.
That's right. Yeah. So once again, please tell us your website and if you have a Facebook page or
yes. So
we'll link to this in the notes, obviously. Okay. But yeah,
sounds good. So the website page is homemakershop.ca. Facebook is the Homemaker Shop. Instagram, I believe, is still Healthy Living Ottawa. And then my name is Amy Mungham, RHN, and you can find the products and services on all social media platforms.
And if you need a testimonial, I will write you one right now.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
No problem. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, this one?
Yeah.